Good day, everyone. For this week, our lesson will be about the review of financial statement as well as its preparation. But before that, I'd like to recap and reiterate some important points during our last week's lesson. So first is the definition of finance. Uh, we know based on the module I've given to you that finance is the allocation of assets over periods of certainty and uncertainty. Uh, Let me emphasize that finance is not only applicable for large-scale businesses, mga companies, but also small-scale ones. So, very good kaayo ka ng mga nag-relate bitaw sa finance sa ilang mga local na mga businesses, mga sari-sari store, applicable pud ana ang finance. And kani kanang most especially sa on a personal level, ang concepts nga atong ma-discuss sa finance is relatable pud siya nato personally sa atong mga own finances. Then we also have provision and management of assets. Finance, although mag-deal siya about money, it's not all about money manggod. Later on, naay mga branches sa finance nga mag-deal siya about provision o management sa other assets like inventory management, kanang fixed asset management. So, kanang money management, one of the many branches of finance ra na siya. Okay? The next is finance distinguished from accounting and auditing. Sa accounting manggod is sa accounting it is focused more on the recording of transactions, while ang auditing is checking those transactions if na-record ba tanan or tanang gi-record is nahitabo ba. Then ang finance is, let's say, siya ang transactions. Ang activities nga atong buhaton sa finance is i-record na siya sa accounting. Unya, after pag-record sa accounting, himuon mo na siya mga financial statements. Then, kana ang i-check sa auditing. The next is controllership versus treasury. So, ang controller or ang accountant is mao na siyang head sa accounting department, while ang treasurer or ang finance manager ba mao na siya ang head sa treasury department. So unsa man ang naa sa accounting department? Accounting department mostly deals with recording transactions like what I said, and maintaining those records. Then ideally, sila pud ang mo-generate or ang mo-make sa financial statements. Then, sila pud ang mo-report ana sa board and sa higher level management. And kana internal control, meaning kanang sila'y mag-establish kung unsaon pag-protect sa assets sa company. While on the other hand, ang treasury department, they deal with custody of funds, asa mo kuha og funds, asa gastuon ang funds, basta about funds ra jud na siya ang treasury department. Then since sila man ang in charge ana sa custody of funds, procurement of funds, they maintain good relations with banks, creditors, mga potential investors. So sa kanang sa quiz bitaw nato is kabantay ko nga daghang na wrong adto nga question sa kanang katong someone nga maintains good relations, then daghan mo nangalibog adto, so daghan ang nanga wrong adto nga part. Then we have goals of a finance manager. Ang primary goal sa finance manager is wealth maximization of the shareholders or the business owners. Um, sa atong activity, sa atong activity, daghanang ng answer og increase profits, nga na, uh, help your money grow, nga na. Increasing the business profits is just one way of maximizing the wealth of the owners. Ang goal manggod sa since ang goal sa finance manager is to maximize the wealth, ang profit increase is just one way of doing it. So we have increasing profits, then napod na kanang maintaining good brand reputation. So saan man ang nang increase imong profit pero bad ang imong image, 'di ba? Kanang wala mo'y corporate social responsibility. So naapod tay kanang increasing of share prices and the value of the firm. So they go hand in hand. These things go hand in hand para ang endpoint niya is mag-increase, ma-maximize nato ang wealth sa atong mga owners. Then we also have kanang importance of stakeholders such as customers, employees, and atong suppliers. So nganong need man nga kanang i-consider bitaw nato atong stakeholders, nganong di ba naman tay kanang corporate social responsibility, nganong need man nato sila nga pauyunan or nganong need man nato i-satisfy ilang mga needs and demands. So kani atong mga customers, employees, and suppliers, mo help ni sila para mo grow atong business. So they contribute to the success of our business. And since ang goal sa atong goal nato as finance manager is to maximize the wealth uh, of our owners, to increase the value of our firm, so dapat kanang mo make tag decisions that would only help the business be profitable. So kana mo consider ta sa kanang demands sa atong customers, dapat ma-satisfy nato atong customers, kanang ang atong employees is happy and contented, kanang dili bitaw kanang wala bitaw sila ma-reklamo sa management. Then ang atong suppliers dapat kanang satisfied pud sila nato, kanang makahelp na sila kay nila man ta mokuha sa atong mga supplies. So basin mohatag sila discount na or kanang ang ilang credit payments is pwede ta dugay mo bayad na. The next is finance manager versus CEO or owners. For large-scale businesses, kanang mga kumpanya, ang finance manager is under na siya sa CEO ug owners. Ang finance manager, they report to the CEOs. However, kanang mga small scale, possible nga one person ra na sila, but textbook wise, lahi ang responsibilities sa finance manager og sa ang CEO. So dili na sila pareho. Then lastly, kaning sources of fund, murag daghan pud mo naglibog ani. So nakoy tulo ka I listed 3 sources of funds kanang natay financial institutions, financial markets, o private placements. So ang example sa financial institutions are banks, cooperatives, o kanang mga informal bitaw na mga lending like mga 5-6 nga na. Then napud tay financial markets, kanang familiar ba mo sa New York Stock Exchange, Philippine Stock Exchange, kanang if ganahan bitaw ka mo palit og shares sa kanang for example Jollibee or SM, anak mo mudong sa stock exchange. Then kaning private placements is kanang one-on-one bitaw ni siya, makig-meet ka og mga investors, then mo offer ka na oy ngani among company, if mo invest ka kani ang imong makuha pabalik nga na. So one-on-one. Don't worry because we will have a separate lesson about sources of funds, probably mga sa midterm. Okay, so let's now go to our lesson for this week, which is, like I said earlier, the review and preparation of financial statements. So, natay learning goals for this lesson. First is, dapat makahibaw mo sa elements sa financial statements and kung giunsa na sila pag-prepare ang mga financial statements. Then, second is, dapat ma-differentiate ninyo unsa nang different the three different firm activities, which are operating activities, investing activities, and financing activities. Then lastly is dapat makahibaw pod mo sa limitations of financial statements. So, financial statements. Financial statements are reports that provide details on the company's financial and other relevant economic information during a period of time. So, unsa man ang kaning financial statements, report ra ni siya. Like, report ra jud siya. Unsa may contents ani niya. Okay, mga numbers nga na. Then, kanang ang content niya is company's financial information. So, for beginner siguro kanang pila ang cash sa company, how much ang land na ilang gi-own, pila ilang utang, then kanang how much ang investment, how much ang capital na gi-raise sa kana company. Then, other relevant economic information. So, sa maning other relevant economic information? Kanang mga activities sa company nga naka-affect sa ilang financial information. Like, kanang nag-issue for large companies, kanang for this year, nag-issue sila og ingani kadaghan nga stock, nga na. For this year, nag-change og board of directors. For this year, for this year, kanang naatay pandemic. So, nag-explain ni sila, kani nga mga information is, nag-explain ni sila nganong kani ang atong financial information. Sige, for example, di ba natay pandemic, for some companies, basin ang ilang kanang income bitaw is niubos comparing 2019 and 2020 na financial statements, niubos og grabe ang profits pag 2020. So, unsa man ang financial information adto, kanang ni-decrease ang profits. Then, ang economic information adto is kanang murag explanation bitaw nganong niubos. So, naatay pandemic. So, sa kanang financial statement users, if magbasa sila, makasabot sila, mao di ay niubos kay naay pandemic ana. So, usually ang kanang maghimo sa financial statements is ang accounting department. I also na-mention nako na ganina. Then, financial statements are audited by independent auditors. Independent auditors, meaning kana dili sila employee, dili sila kanang hired employees sa company, hired permanent or employees sa company. Familiar mo anang kanang kana sa PBB bitaw or sa kanang nay mga pageant nga ang results is audited by SGV, nga na mao na sila, mga auditors na sila. So, sila ang mo-check sa financial statement sa usa ka company. Then, kanang init pa dyan ni siya kaayo, kanang ang auditor sa government agencies is ang COA, ang Commission on Audit. So, For government agencies, ang auditor is ang Commission on Audit. Then for private businesses, ang independent auditor nila is kanang mga SGV, PwC, KPMG, and kanang napod na yung mga kanang mga local auditors, like diri sa Bohol ang naa is naay Ochoco, naay Eboho, and among others. So for large companies kanang mga publicly listed o kanang SEC registered, required na sila mag-publish annually og at least 5 financial statements. So these are statement of financial position, also known as balance sheet, statement of comprehensive income, popularly known as income statement, statement of cash flows, statement of changes in shareholders' equity, and notes to the financial statements. So tagsa-tagsaon nato na sila unya. Basin mangutana mo kana, ma'am, niingon man ka nga ang financial statements is more of concern na siya sa accounting. Then dili man may accounting students. So nag-discuss tag ingani financial statements kay as finance managers, dapat kamaupod mo mubasa og financial statements. Then unsaon ninyo pagkakamao mubasa og financial statements if dili mo kaibaw o if giunsa na sila pag-prepare. So maayo na nang naamoy kanang basic knowledge sa financial statements. Okay. Then we have the elements of financial statements. We have assets, liabilities, equity, income, and expenses. So, unsa man yung elements of financial statements? According to Valix, elements of financial statements are the building blocks from which financial statements are derived from. So, building blocks meaning they are the foundation, they are the core. So, kaning lima nga elements diri gikan ang information nga atong ibutang sa financial statements. So, assets are present economic resources controlled by the entity as a result of past events. Economic resources should have the potential to produce economic benefits. This definition is from the conceptual framework for financial reporting. So, assets are economic resources controlled by the entity as a result of past events. So, dapat owned, naay control ang entity sa kana nga asset. Then, kaning mga asset, dapat na sila'y potential nga maghatag og benefit sa company. Then we have liabilities. These are present obligations of an entity to transfer economic resources as a result of past events. So an obligation is a duty or responsibility that an entity cannot avoid. So liabilities are kanang mga obligations nga dapat bayaran sa bayaran or i-fulfill sa entity. So, sooner or later, dapat makasettle, na sila'y probable nga i-settle siya or i-fulfill sa entity. Then, we have equity, which is the residual interest. So, the difference between assets and liabilities is equity. Then we have income. These are increases in assets or decreases in liabilities which result to increases in equity, except those that are from owner contributions. So, kanang increases in equity except sa kanang owner contributions, kanang gihatag sa owner para sa business, kanang investments ni owner para sa business. Aside ana, any increases in equity which are also increases in assets or decreases in liabilities, are income. On the other hand, expenses are decreases in assets, increases in liabilities that result to decreases in equity except owner distribution. So, if ang owner kanang mo withdraw bitaw og investment sa business, dili na siya expense. So, unsa man uh, uh, mao na siya ang owner distribution. So, aside ana, if mo decrease na niyang equity, then ni decrease po ang assets or ni increase atong liabilities, considered as expenses na siya. Okay, moving on. We have the statement of financial position. I hope kanang familiar na ta ani kay nakaagi man ta og 101, di ba? Okay. So, mao ni siya ang example sa statement of financial position. So, financial statement users like investors or creditors use this statement to analyze or evaluate the liquidity, solvency, and the need for additional financing. So, unsa man ang liquidity? Liquidity is the ability of the company to pay its currently maturing obligations. So, kanang mga current, kanang immediate bitaw nga bayron nun, if kaya ba nila mubayad ana. Then, solvency is the business ability to pay its long-term obligations. So, kanang mga obligations nga need bayaran mga 2 years from now, nga na, if kaya ba na bayaran sa company, makita sa statement of financial position. Now, the components of the statement of financial position are as follows. First, we have current assets. So, ang example sa current assets are cash, cash in bank, cash on hand. Then, we have cash equivalents like mga checks. Then, we also have inventories and kanang mga accounts receivable, notes receivable. Mao na sila mga current assets. So, anything that a company expects to hold or receive within 12 months or within its normal operating cycle are considered as current assets. Next are non-current assets. So, kani sila is, if dili current, probably non-current na siya. So, examples of non-current assets are land, building, vehicles, mga long-term investments, mga machineries, mga furniture and fixtures, mga equipment. So, example, mao na siya mga non-current assets. Then, we also have current liabilities. So, ang examples of current liabilities is accounts payable, notes payable. So, kani sila is liabilities that are expected to be settled within 12 months after the reporting period or within the business normal operating cycle. Then, we also have non-current liabilities. So, if dili gani current ang liability, most probably non-current na siya. So, ang example ani is mga long-term loans, mga long-term notes payable, mga deferred tax payable. Then, we also have equity. So, like I said earlier, equity is just a residual definition. This is the difference between assets and liabilities. So, unsa man nga mga accounts ang naa sa equity. So, for large corporations, mao na siya mga shareholders equity, common share, preference share, retained earnings, and the like. So, kung small scale ra ka, so kung ano na siya, capital account ra na siya for small scale businesses. Then we have statement of comprehensive income. So the statement of comprehensive income shows changes in equity resulting from transactions within the period other than changes resulting from transactions with owners in their capacity as owners. So medyo lisod siya ng explanation. So in simple terms, changes sa equity nga dili gikan sa contributions ni owner, like mga additional investments niya, or kanang mga withdrawal of his investments. So kuan siya, mga income o expenses ra. So ang atong statement of comprehensive income naa siya two components. We have profit or loss. Tanang statement of comprehensive income is na ay profit or loss, and napoy OCI or the other comprehensive income. So unsa may contents ani nila. So profit or loss, ang contents ani niya is the usual income and expenses kanang ato gong nakasanayan nga income statement. Then ang OCI, kung ano siya, gains o losses from reclassification adjustments. So medyo kung ano ni siya, this is not a part of our scope na sa lahi na ni siya, mga accounting students na ni siya. Then unsa man nga information ang atong makuha sa statement of comprehensive income? So first is profitability. Makaibaw ta if profitable ba ang kana nga business just by looking at their comprehensive income. Then, we can also form judgments whether effective ba ang pag-add og additional resources. So, for example, nipalit ka og latest nga mga machines para sa imong business. So, makita nimo sa comprehensive income if effective ba ang imong gipalit nga mga additional machineries. So, if ni-increase ang imong profits, meaning effective siya. Then, if kanang wala ray lihok, if same ra as before, so basin dili siya ingana ka effective, or kanang nag-hire kag more people sa imong business, if ni-increase gani ang imong profit, meaning effective siya nga move. Otherwise, dili siya effective. Then we're talking about income and expenses. Ang income, naada tay two kinds, dili siya kinds, pero kuan siya of income. Natay revenue o gains. Ang revenue, income ni siya, pero from the ordinary course of the business. On the other hand, ang gains is not ordinary course of the business. So, unsa man ni siya? What does this mean? For example, computer shop ka, kanang internetan bitaw. Unsa man ang imong revenue? Ang imong revenue is kanang halin nimo from the customers using your computers. Mao na siya imong revenue, kay ang ordinary course of the ang business man nimo is about pag-rent sa computer, the use of the computer. So ang imong revenue from the other ordinary course is kanang gibayad sa mga mogamit sa computer, or dili kanang naay mo print, ang printing ana, ang bayad sa pag-print, revenue na siya. Then unsa man ang imong gains ana? Ang imong gains is, for example, naka-unit nga ibaligya. Diba, internetan man ka, then naka-unit nga ibaligya kay basin daghan ra ka kaayong unit, so na-feel nimo nga ibaligya ni nako ning uban nga computer. So imo na siyang ibaligya. So ang halin ana, ang gain ana is not income na siya, not from the ordinary course. Kay dili man ang imong business is from renting of computer man, dili ang pagbaligya sa computer. Okay, nagets ra? Okay. Ang gains, ang imong halin sa pagbaligya sa computer, if internetan nga business ka, is called gains. Then, ang revenue nga imong nakuha from kanang mga gibayad sa mga customers nimo sa paggamit sa computer, revenue na siya. Then we have expenses, so kanang mga costs na siya on operating your business. So balik ta adtong example nga computeran, unsa man ang imong cost ana? Na kay kuryente, internet bill, then ang maintenance sa imong mga computer. Okay, next, we have statement of changes in owner's equity. On large-scale corporations, ang tawag ani is statement of changes in shareholders' equity. So, kung ano ni siya, movements in equity. Like here, natay capital during the beginning of the year, then natay net income for the year, ang atong investments, then minusan sa withdrawals, so makuha na to ang increase sa equity ana nga year or decrease ba. Then i-add ra nato siya sa beginning balance para makuha ang atong ending balance. Then we have the statement of cash flows. So the statement of cash flows contains information about the cash receipts or cash disbursements. And as you can see, na siya tulo ka component, which are operating, investing, and financing. Okay. Operating, investing, and financing. So, ang operating cash flows, these are from your principal revenue producing activities. Like, for example, balik ta atong internetan. Unsa man ang imong operating cash flows ana? So, ang imong halin, operating na siya. Then, ang imong payments sa kuryente, internet, operating cash flows na siya. Then, investing. Unsa man ang investing is acquisition or disposition of non-current assets. So, pag-acquire sa pagpalit or pagbaligya nimo. So, nipalit ka, internetan ka, di ba? Nipalit kag computer, PC units, nipalit kag printer para magamit sa imong business. So, investing activity nga siya. Then, disposition, imong gibaligya ang unit kay basin old unit na siya or daghan ra kaayong units. So, ang halin ana, madunga siya sa investing activity. Then, we have financing, transactions between entity and its owners. This is called equity financing, or transactions between entity and your creditors. This is called debt financing. So, unsa man ni siya kanang ikaw nga owner, mag-invest ka sa imong business, mag-add kag capital. Kuan na siya, financing activity na siya. Then, also, if bawion nimo imong investments, kuan na siya, part po na siya sa financing activities. Or, kanang mangutang ka, mo apply kag loan para i-invest sa imong business, financing activity po na siya. Then we have notes to the financial statements. Image na siya. So, ang notes to the financial statements, literally notes ra jud na siya. Like, words, paragraph, words and paragraphs ra jud ang imong makita ana. Naay mga table or naay mga diagram, pero dili siya same sa other financial statements bitaw. So, notes to the financial statements are just an elaboration of company activities that affect contents of financial statements. These may include accounting policies and measurements used sa financial statements. So, this is used to enhance understandability of the financial statements. Diba, nag-mention ko ganina sa beginning of sa introduction bitaw nga ang financial statements, they contain financial information and other relevant economic information. So, kanang other relevant economic information, diri na siya makita sa notes to the financial statements. Then, lastly, we have limitations of financial statements. First is the valuation problem. So, since ang atong financial statements, based man siya on historical costs, meaning kanang cost pagpalit nimo ana nga butang, it does not reflect current replacement value of assets. So, like for example, nipalit kag sakyanan for your business, then kano sa man kanipalit pag 2001, then ang price niya pag 2001 lahi na sa price niya, same model, same edition, unsa may term ana, same model karon nga 2021. Okay, so for example, nipalit ko og PC unit pag 2005. Then ang pagpalit nako adto nga time is 15,000. Karon ang same unit, same brand, same model, same unit number, lahi na yung price karon nga 2021 basin na ana sa 5,000 nga na. So kana nga difference is dili na siya ma-reflect sa financial position, since ang imo manggod ibutang sa financial statement is ang value na imong gipalit niya. So ang value niya pag 2005, which is ang 15,000. Then next is we have balance sheet values. So since financial statements are strictly adhering to the financial reporting framework, some things that are of economic value may not be included in the financial statements, such as brand popularity, good social reputation, exemplary customer service, etc. So kani mangod sila kanang dili manggod kaning brand popularity, social reputation, o customer service, dili manggod nimo siya ma-measure in numerical terms, di ba? Since dili nimo siya ma-measure, we cannot measure it in any way numerically, dili siya mabutang sa balance sheet value. So, ang company value nga makita sa financial statements is probably way different than what society perceives the value of our business is. Kasi kay dili man nato ma-reflect sa financial statement ang popularity sa atong business nga na, ang good service nga atong ihatag sa mga customers nga na. So although financial statements have these limitations, they are still the most available and reliable source of information. So maski pa nga natay mga valuation problem o inconsistency sa values, ang financial statements gihapon ang atong source of information regarding the financial position or the financial performance of our company. So as long as ang information nga naa sa financial statements is used with care o kanang tinuod bitaw ang information nga atong ibutang o kanang honest ta while naghimo ta sa financial statements, these reports should be helpful despite its limitations. Okay, so that ends our module for this week. So thank you very much for listening to me. And the presentation ends here. So please don't forget to answer our second conceptual activity. I will post it in our MS Teams. And that would be all. See you next week. Thank you and have a good week.